No more slack contractors for government projects. NID program back with new approach. And Wewak Island's relocation drive halted.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining me for Friday's news. A new bill is before the National Executive Council to revise the operations of the Central Supply and Tenders Board. Finance Minister James Marape says this is to tighten the procurement process so contracts are tendered to contractors who can deliver projects on time. This policy will redefine the operations of the Central Supply and Tenders Board.
As the minister responsible for the Central Supply Tenders Board, Minister Marape made a bold statement yesterday that the bill is to sharpen government procurements. He says past contractors have not performed to expectations, thus the policy will now have strict requirements.
And part of that, I want to look into possibility of defining contracts that are suitable only for Papua New Guinean companies. We are so much losing money and giving it an open playing field for every company to bid into contracts that can be only strictly disbursed to PNG or Papua New Guinean companies.
Currently, there is no policy or act between contracts tendered at the three levels of government. However, all will fall back and comply with the Public Finance Management Act. The Finance Minister says the policy will now create boundaries and identify the level of contracts depending on the total funding allocated for each project.
I have a view that all the procurements need to be brought in line. We may not be the actual supervising or implementing officers on the ground, allowing for the procurement to take place, but the Procurement Commission must have a registry and knowledge and oversight on all the tender boards in our country, especially at the province level and at the district level also.
Finance Secretary Ken Nangan says CSTB has received criticisms over the years on its procurement and tender process, but he says with the bill to be passed in 2018, contractors will be closely monitored.
So once those come board, those will really change the way in which government procurement is done, so that it will give confidence to the general public that government procurement, awarding of contracts, is done transparently.
CSTB Board Secretary Babaga Naime admitted that the current policy is outdated.
The assessment of the CSTB is outdated and needs to be changed to accommodate our current needs.
From records, CSTB has procured projects worth 330 million kina in the past 6 months. The procurement bill is expected to be presented to Parliament during the first 2018 sitting. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
2018 begins with a new approach for the National Identity Program, trying to achieve its 5-year goal of registering 1 million Papua New Guineans. They have now expanded to the public and private sector for employees to get their NID cards. The Lands Department is the first government department to participate, and today staff received their NID cards and certificates.
National Planning Minister Richard Maru, along with Acting Registrar General Michael Kumung, presented the 108 NID cards and certificates to Minister for Lands, Justin Tachenko.
Minister, this is your pack for your staff.
Thank you very much.
And 155 NID cards and certificates to Bank of South Pacific for their staff.
That's it. You're the first corporate to get all your stuff done. Thank you.
Minister Tachenko says staff with NID identification will assist the department in doing away with ghost staff names.
Then clearly identifies every employee in the Lands Department. Now the public service has no hesitation but to pay all the employees of the Lands Department, because now they are all clearly identified under the system. So there's no ghost names in the department, there's no fake people in the department.
Minister Maru is encouraging more government departments and private companies to inquire and have their staff receive NID cards.
This is the first department we have completed. I'm very pleased to achieve this milestone, and I want to appeal to all other ministers and secretaries of departments and heads of government agencies to contact Michael and his team. So we want to make sure before December all the other public service organizations within Port Moresby and throughout the country have all their staff registered.
The NID card have become essential to Papua New Guineans as it is the best form of identification. But the rollout of the program wasn't successful, and former Registrar General Dixon Kiragi was replaced with Michael Kumung.
I got rid of the former registrar and appointed Michael from the Department of National Planning to go down because of the long queues, the 2 years she's taking to issue ID cards, and all the chronic problems associated with the ID card issue. And I'm now happy to report to the nation after the appointment of Michael to be the new head of the office. Over 5 years, we were only able to produce 145,000 cards. In the last 3 months, we produced 112 in only 3 months.
Acting Registrar General Michael Kumung is now the man in charge in rolling out the multi-million Kina government program, and changes have already happened.
Like two things in mind. One is to get the process in order, to bring control and integrity to the whole process, and second is to get the right people to do the job, which I have done a reorg in the whole office and put people into the different sections as per the business process of the registration. And now it's under control. The process is now, we've brought control, strengthened the process, and we now have got the people. I've brought in university graduates who are now taking charge, and those others who have been engaged by the project, we are now using them for mobile registration rollout. So
3 to 5 days, the expected duration of how long your NID card and certificates should be ready. And Kumung is requesting for those who applied for NID cards last year and onwards to check the office in Waigani to pick up the NID cards.
And also those that have been processed but needs to be collected, which I've been sorting that out. I put notice on the paper for people to come in days according to the order of the surnames, and we will be start issuing out next week.
Adelaide Sirks Kari, National MTV News.
Despite their close proximity, there is no possibility of a chain reaction or explosion by volcanic islands in Wewak, a volcano expert has revealed. Principal geodetic surveyor at the Rabaul Volcanological Observatory, Steve Saunders, told MTV these volcano islands are not connected. However, relocating islanders is a necessary safety measure.
Has its own alert level because
Speaking in Rabaul yesterday, Mr. Saunders says Kadowar, BM and Rupup are in no way connected. He says the first explosion on Kadowar had initially raised concerns of a big explosion. However, the threat level has been relatively low.
Each volcano has its own alert level because they do act slightly differently. And we have issued an alert level of 4, which means that is in a throat clearing position and people should be evacuated from the island.
Kadowar, Rupup and BM Islands are all situated in the shortened group of islands. According to Mr. Saunders, Kadowar and BM erupted years back but not on the same occasion. Mr. Saunders says currently there is no way a double explosion is likely to happen.
Kadowar erupted possibly 300 years ago, and there's no sign of any other volcano erupting at that same time. So statistically we can say they're not linked. You would get time clusters if they were. There would be several, the different volcanoes would have erupted at the same time.
The RVO office in East New Britain has sent a team to assess the progress of volcanic activities in Wewak. Saunders says an awareness program will also be carried out so islanders and community leaders know the level of threat by the volcanic islands.
Some of our guys from RVO actually visited the island yesterday, and again they can report there's no volcanic activity. There has been some felt earthquakes, and we're not sure what's causing that, but there's no volcanic activity at the moment. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
Relocation for the affected Kadava, Rup and BM Islanders in Wewak has been temporarily suspended. ECP Governor Alan Bird says authorities have stopped the relocation exercise due to logistical issues. About 533 men, women and children have been resettled on the mainland in Dandan.
We hope that these unfortunate events can come to an end soon, and then we can begin some of the rebuilding things that we're talking about.
Airline operator Air Niugini has temporarily rerouted its Wewak flights PX126 and PX123 to and from Madang and has suspended aircraft overnights in Wewak. This is effective as of Sunday, January 21 to March 24th. PX126 in the afternoon has been rerouted to operate direct from Port Moresby to Wewak and then on to Madang where it overnights. The morning flight from Wewak PX123 has also been rerouted to operate from Madang to Wewak and on to Port Moresby. Air Niugini has encouraged its customers to take note of the above changes. Safety remains a top priority. You're with National EMTV News. Don't go away. We'll be back with more after these short messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The National Court in Kokopo has dismissed an election petition filed by ousted Gazelle MP Malakai Tabar against Jelsa Wong. Presiding Judge Colin McKyle dismissed the case yesterday after the petitioner failed to verify allegations of bribery. The court found that the person alleged to have been bribed doesn't have his name on the electoral roll. The Gateway Children's Fund today received over 29,000 kina from the Sir Brian Bell Foundation in Port Moresby. The charity organisation benefited from a Christmas wishing tree promotion by Brian Bell, which ran throughout the festive period.
Brian Bell Home Centres provided an avenue for people to support numerous charities across PNG through its established foundation, the Sir Brian Bell Foundation. From November to December last year, the promotion allowed people to purchase 5 kina barbells and place them on the Christmas wishing tree, along with their Christmas message. And after thousands of Christmas barbells were sold nationwide, Gateway Children's Foundation was one of the selected charity organizations to receive the donation from the Sir Brian Bell Foundation.
We obviously wanted to do a community-based project late last year in line with our Christmas program, and we chose the Gateway Children's Fund because it's not a high-profile charity and a very important charity in Port Moresby, which aids a lot of health and education activities and initiatives for children here.
The Gateway Children's Fund has functioned as a comprehensive child development agency committed to improving the lives of PNG's poorest children since 2007.
Our fund only operates on donations. We don't receive government money. And so the generosity of Sir Brian Bell Foundation and Brian Bell Group of Companies is very significant, and it will enable us to continue to help provide free healthcare, free education, elementary education for about 250 kids this year, which is quite significant. And they're children from poor areas from the settlements who would not normally go to school. So it's a very significant donation.
In addition, the Sir Brian Bell Foundation contributed 20,000 to each of the 7 nominated charities.
The Sir Brian Bell Foundation has been operating for a number of years now, and it's obviously aligned with health and education programs, and the Gateway Children's Fund is a great initiative by Rick and many others, and at the end of the day it aligns with the values of not only our group but certainly the foundation itself.
The Gateway Foundation works in partnership with non-government organizations in carrying out quality humanitarian projects and provides an aid to relieve poverty and provide long-term solutions to the people.
Due to the customers of Sir Brian Bell, who obviously saw that it was a great initiative and trusted Sir Brian Bell companies, that they know that Sir Brian Bell gives a lot to the community, so they got in behind it. So I just want to say thank you to all of the customers who bought a bauble and wrote their best wishes on it. It really says a lot about the trust that Sir Brian Bell Group of Companies has in this country, and we're very delighted to be associated with them.
Shane Saroya, National EMTV News.
National Planning Minister Richard Maru has requested for ministers responsible for APEC and immigration to look into the length of time it takes to process a PNG business and tourist visa for countries like India. Minister Maru says after his fact-finding mission to India, he had received a request from the Federation of India's Chamber of Commerce and Industry to look into the issue. Minister Maru says India is a potential market for tourism and business in PNG, and 2 months to process a visa was unhealthy for the country.
With APEC comes processing of visa application, and Minister Maru says it's time we seriously look into our visa processing time, as it's discouraging positive business in PNG.
As most of you know from the media, I led the high-level government delegation to India with 4 ministers. We met the private sector, we met business, we met industry, we met the government of India, and the most important outcome was, for the first time in our history, Indian government has now agreed to commence negotiations for Papua New Guinea and India to enter into what we call an economic partnership agreement. The complaint I received from the Indian government and the private sector, especially the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, is the complaint about the time it takes to get a PNG visa. It takes 8 weeks on average for an Indian to apply to the PNG High Commission in Delhi to get a visa. When the rest of the world, it takes a day or 2 days at the most.
Minister Maru says he has written to Minister for Immigration Petrus Thomas, asking him to look into the option of outsourcing the visa processing component.
We are trying to market this country as a safe and good investment destination. So it means that the time has come for PNG to reform this aspect of how we do business with the outside world. We can't keep taking 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 2-3 months for visas to be issued.
Minister responsible for APEC, Justin Tichenko, says it's something he is looking into.
India is not an APEC country, so they're not part of that APEC meeting, but they will come in as observers. But at the end of the day, for all the other countries, the Immigration Department has worked with the Chief Migration Officer and the Minister, working to ensure that the easiest access on our current system that we have now is available, like dedicated APEC lanes for customs and immigration at the airport have already been set up. The other issue is on the priority for all people coming here for APEC. They will have their visas processed in less than 5 days.
Meanwhile, Minister Maru wants the whole visa process to be made electronic.
The rest of the world have gone down the path of reform. They are now doing e-passports, and they are now doing outsourcing of the visa processing. So private companies process the visa, they work to a standard of 2 days, otherwise they lose their contract. So they have to deliver on time. Whole of India, they don't send immigration staff to other missions in the world. It's all done by private companies. Australia has gone down the path, New Zealand has gone down the path. The whole world is reformed. I've spoken to the Minister for Immigration, I've written him a letter. He's out of town right now, but I will meet with him on Monday. I really feel it's time for PNG, before we really kick into the APEC here, for us to look at the reform, and let's look at trialing this outsourcing, and let's look at how we can speed up the visa issue.
Adelaide Sroxkari, National, EMTV News.
State entity PNG Ports Corporation has reached another milestone, achieving an unqualified opinion in its audits for the year ending December 31st, 2016. This is the second time for PNG Ports to achieve this feat.
In a statement, PNG Ports Managing Director Stanley Alphonse announced the results of audits into the state-owned entity for 2016. The audits, conducted by the Auditor General's Office as part of the regulatory best practice requirements. The reports covered PNG Ports' financial statements, comprehensive income, change in equity, cash flow, and a summary of significant accounting policies. This achievement follows on from 2015, where PNG Ports also received an unqualified opinion from its audits. According to Mr. Alphonse, the reporting standards within this SOE have been positive in recent years, particularly given that progress has been made in clearing the backlog of outstanding reports for previous years. This adds to other significant financial management milestones for PNG Ports, which included carrying out an asset verification exercise across all its ports in 2014 and a revaluation of all its property, plant and equipment assets in 2015. According to Mr. Stanley, within the last 3 years, they have been able to upgrade and implement their operation systems Klein, which has resulted in the automation of its invoices across its major ports of Port Moresby, Lae, Madang, Rabaul, Kimbe and Alatau, providing more oversight visibility across its operations. Neville Choi, National EMTV News.
This is Friday's news. We'll have more stories when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. A 24-year-old man, Levan Jonna, who sells donuts in Lae, has won a 2-bedroom kit home worth 140,000 kina as the second runner-up of the Flame Wynnum House promotion. Jonna's entry was among the 300,000 received in the promotion by Goodman Fielder International. Jonna said the house would benefit his family as they are currently accommodated by relatives at the Bumbu compound in Lae.
Levan Jonna graduated in tourism and hospitality in 2009 from Malang Technical College in Lae. Catering was his field of interest. The 24-year-old was employed with several companies in Lae. After injuring his hand during work in 2014, Jonna couldn't continue, so he resigned in 2016. Since then, Jonna has been making donuts for sale to help sustain his father and his 3 brothers who are currently being accommodated by his uncle at Bumbu compound in Lae.
So misa go kan buy flower lo isu go na time old mi looking postal to draw lo winning house mi just buy flower kam na sa right name no go trome so mi no believe so mi win la uste mi just lusting thing na round na about na stana samo lo Friday Christmas week all calling name lo mem so kwan so mi no believe to so mi win te ben stana mi looking lo newspaper na mi believe mo so I'm straight no at mi win.
These are full set materials to help build this 2-bedroom house. The materials are purchased from PNG Forest by Goodman Fielder International. The winner and his family will organize a carpenter to help construct the house. Goodman Fielder's regional sales manager for Momase, Kristen Lucas, says the promotion is the company's initiative to reward their customers.
Misa tingos miet gatong na usluminas sleep miet borait. Now mi gatong na usluminaw na mi sleep miet.
Levan is the oldest of 4 boys. Their mother passed away in 2008. His father, Nelson Jonna, said the win was a surprise and a blessing to his family.
Big plus sa mi mastered lem winam dis la competition na thank you so much lo flame flower. Pla baim lo go at least all got time lo give back in return lo community na mi pla fortunately am beginning boy lo mi live and winam so mi just am mastered long. Thank you so much.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Modilon General Hospital today received medical equipment as a donation from the Madang Rotary Club. These medical items include crutches, wheelchairs and a dental chair among other donated items. Acting CEO Dr. Vincent Atua says most of the medical equipment will be used at the Accident and Emergency Unit. The other items will be distributed to the wards to help improve services.
Modilon General Hospital in Madang is struggling to serve its patients. Acting CEO Dr. Vincent Atua says it is a difficult time given the current economic situation the country is facing. Thus, the medical equipment donated by the Rotary Club in Madang is important in helping the hospital improve its services. The hospital is trying its best to work within their means by establishing relationship with donor agencies and NGOs fill in the gaps.
So these donations will be distributed to the wards where that need them, and that should help improve the services. But
Dr. Hatua says a lot of the other units in the hospital are also facing challenges with the aging equipment. He explains many of the medical equipment used are disposable or are used once or a few times, like sheets.
There are two kinds of medical supplies. There are some which are equipment and they last a long time and can be used over and over again. But many of the things we use once and we have to get rid of.
The hospital normally gets these items through government supply process, but over the years the process has been really slow.
And so we've had to make do with what we've got. So these donations will be distributed to the wards where that need them.
The Rotary Club in Medang has been donating medical equipment to the hospital in the past several years. The Rotary Club is also assisting the hospital in other areas needed to improve the quality of service it provides to the people of Medang.
To fix the kitchen, the nutrition ward, the kitchen for the hospital. And you see, like, they will come in here with the Rotary's expense, get the place renovated, and then they'll come to see what is needed, like food warmers and all the good for the hospital, to be able to cook food for the hospital. So it's about everything from the kitchen to the medical supplies.
Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medang.
On a related note, after a temporary closure, the Modilon General Hospital Labour Ward will reopen tomorrow. Acting CEO Dr. Vincent Atua says the ward was closed due to a blockage at the main storage outline. This has resulted in wastewater leaking back into the labour ward. Thus, the hospital had to immediately close down the ward for maintenance work. Turning overseas, a couple is flying high after their surprise wedding. A jet plane was their chapel because the Holy Father Pope Francis was the one who performed this ceremony.
The papal plane turned into a wedding chapel when Pope Francis spontaneously married two flight attendants at 36,000 feet.
He offered and we said, well,
this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Paula Podest and Carlos Ciufardi were sitting near the pontiff during a customary flight crew photo when the conversation began. Small talk turned into a full-blown Catholic wedding when Pope Francis asked if they were married. The couple responded only civilly, for a natural disaster turned their wedding day upside down when the 2010 earthquake hit Chile, destroying the church where they were supposed to tie the knot. According to the couple, Pope Francis didn't waste any time before asking, "Do you want me to marry you?"
He invited us to sit down and we started talking to him. And then that was the moment.
Pope Francis then said, "We need a witness." So the CEO of the airline served as such. The good thing about papal trips is that cardinals travel with Pope Francis, so the pontiff turned around and asked a cardinal to draft the wedding certificate. With few resources on the plane, the couple says one of the cardinals used a sheet of paper from the airline to draft the document. After a brief blessing of the wedding rings by the Pope, the couple and their boss, turned witness, signed the wedding certificate and made history. For this is the first wedding ever on a papal plane, according to Vatican officials. The Pope asked, "Is she still the boss?"
I told him yes.
A reference to how the couple met. She was his boss at the time. Pope Francis gave the couple rosaries as gifts and then said he hopes this motivates couples around the world to marry.
You're tuned into National EMTV News. Chukai Sports is up next. I'll have all the details for you after the break. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The PNG High Performance has announced the result of its first ever talent identification program from the 7th PNG Games in West New Britain Province. High Performance Manager Cornelius Papa highlighted the program was a success and raw talents were identified as potential future athletes. And updates on the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup. The PNG Under-19 Garmuts were not spared any mercy today in their fourth match against the Australia Under-19. Australia put a 370 runs margin in the first inning in their allotted 50 with 2 wickets remaining. The second innings saw PNG cornered early on when the top order crumpled just after 5 runs. PNG bowed out of the 371 runs chase when they were all out 59 after 24.5 overs. This loss is the fourth, making their chances for a plate final less likely. Still on cricket, the Hebel PNG Barramundis finishing at 4th placing have secured their ticket for the World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe next month.
The Hebel PNG Barramundis will be playing in the ICC Cricket World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe, which will take place in February-March, which is an opportunity for our national team to hopefully play in the 2019 ICC Cricket World Cup in England. It will be a 10-team competition in Zimbabwe with only 2 teams advancing. And it's going to be a very tough competition with PNG pooled with the mighty West Indies, also Ireland as well as Netherlands. So it's going to be very tough, but we're quietly confident that hopefully that we can qualify for our first ever World Cup.
You're watching Trukai Sports. Stay tuned for more on the other side of this break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To overseas sports, Australia has begun its new Olympic sport of skating. Competitors are taking part in the first training camp for the 2020 Games in Tokyo.
These grommets are grinding for burley. If they stick, it's sick. But if they bail, it's hippers. These rippers are mad dog about the Olympics.
It's pretty gnarly, dude.
For this sport with its own language, the first Olympic training session. Its inclusion in 2020 was controversial, a touch of the X Games for the ancient games.
The Olympic Games have been very forward in saying that they need to capture what the youth of today are interested in.
But will it de-radicalise a sport proud to have attitude?
It's not mainstream, everyone's still going to be the same. It's still skateboarding, it's still what we love.
No surprises, but I'm skating old school. Stairs are for walking down, but for Tommy, it's a place to do a front nose blunt. And for Brad here, a place to do a front feeble. They plan to turn the Olympics rad. Including for commentators like Seven's Basil Zemplis.
Whoa, that grommet's just dropped in a rad feeble. Wow! Oh, that's the sickest backside flip we've ever seen! Incredible!
For Australian junior champion 14-year-old Keegan Palmer, bring on Tokyo.
Just the Olympics. That's what makes it. That's what makes it way gnarlier.
To tennis and a look at tennis in Australia.
It was a ripping game between Grigor Dimitrov and Andrei Rublev.
He's frustrated.
But the Bulgarian got the job done in 4 sets. Teenage giant killer Marta Kostyuk looked determined to pull off another major upset.
Oh, it's an early break for the 15-year-old.
But it quickly went downhill from there, as Ukrainian compatriot Elena Svitolina proved why she's world number 4, winning in just under an hour.
How do you think how much you have to pay to Svitolina? 1 hour lesson, so I got it for free.
Some found the scorching 40-plus degree heat too much to bear.
These are difficult moments for everybody.
In the cool of the evening, Roger Federer cruised into a third-round matchup against Richard Gasquet. And yes, he has asked for a night match.
Do you think you have more leverage than some? Possibly, but it's not my call.
Aussie Ash Barty is just 1 win away from her best Grand Slam result after defeating Camilla Giorgi last night in 3 sets. She'll now play world number 68, Japan's Naomi Osaka.
Naomi's a great chick and can certainly give the ball a rip.
Fellow Aussies Leighton Hewitt and Sam Groth kicked off their Australian Open farewell tour with a win in the doubles, and Groth continued his winning ways with Sam Stosur in the mixed. And tennis was the big winner last night. 26-year-old Tennis is from Tennessee, and yes, you heard it right, his first name is Tennis with a Y.
What's your name? Tennis. Well,
you played tennis ball, you know, things like that. Whoa, that's kind of cool. Like, talk about something else.
After upsetting former Australian Open champ Stan Wawrinka, tennis now takes on Maximilian Martyra tomorrow for a berth in the quarterfinals.
And to AFL, its boss is adamant to improve the code. Here's a look.
Stepping out onto Etihad with new AFLW boss Nicole Livingston. The league boss flagged bumper interest in the Women's League.
Sold over 20,000 tickets to the Fremantle-Collingwood game, first footy game at the new Optus Stadium in Perth.
Usually, a kick to kick on Etihad wouldn't fly, but these days the AFL owns the stadium.
Very tough thing to get on Etihad here. The groundsman's watching us eagerly.
It helps when you own it.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
His holiday growth is long gone.
Bid comes off, back to work.
And as part of the launch, Gil McLachlan walked 7 News through aspects of this year's footy agenda. McLachlan revealing he'd support an AFL mid-season draft this year.
I'd like to think so. Probably the reality is no, because I think clubs would need to be advised before now, but I'm keen on it.
A new concept launching in February, AFLX. North trialled it today. The big stars set to back it.
Players have been trialling it this week, the clubs, and the feedback, I haven't had any negative feedback. Players think it's open, fast.
Also on the agenda this year, plans to redevelop Etihad and a focus on kids' community football.
Membership's a great lead indicator, up 10% off a record year last year, so it does feel like pretty much every team thinks they can win it this year.
Over the break, McLachlan was linked to a rumoured job offer running Crown. But what's totally clear from today's interview is the highly regarded league boss is completely invested in football.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good year.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. The weather details for the next 24 hours up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms in Port Moresby, rain showers in Daru, Kerema, Alotau and Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, rain showers in Lae, Wewak and Wow, rain drizzle in Madang and rain and thunderstorms in Vanimo. In Lorengau, cloudy periods, a shower or two in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and a few showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain and thunderstorms in all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. All coastal waters of PNG can expect seas of 0.5 to 0.5 to 1 meter. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas slide with northeast to northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slide with northeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas slide with southwest to northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slide with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Government says no more slack contractors, NID registration program back with new approach, and relocation exercise for Wewak Islanders halted because of logistical issues. And that's the news, sports and weather for Friday, January 19th, 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV news team, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Pleasant viewing. Good night.